How's it going, everyone? So, individual came to me yesterday, gave me 3 items to work on. Apparently they all don't start and need to do some maintenance as well on the mower. Mower looks to be almost brand new. Weed eater definitely is not brand new, but the purpose of this story, or this video, it's going to be this mower. So, are these good motors? Well, we're going to go over a couple things about them, so be warned right now. This is going to be a talking heavy video, so if you're not liking that, please stop right now and stop typing. Second, if you do like stuff like that, go ahead and grab yourself a drink, sit down, and let's have a chat. So first off, there's a lot of different variations of these. I don't even know how many, but there's a lot. And even amongst their own size, there's small little bits and pieces that are different. Like some tanks are vented on the side, some tanks are not. Air filter can be different. One has a primer, one does not. You know, stuff like that. So I'm going to go over generically this motor. That can go discuss over size or specifics because, like I said, there's variations. There's bigger versions, there's smaller versions. This is kind of like in the middle. But first thing off, is this a good motor? We're going to discuss that at the very end, so stay tuned. So second thing, this is Briggs and Stratton. It is a newer version. They kind of got away from the flathead. There's a flathead somewhere around here, and this is an overhead valve. It's supposed to be pretty decent. It's lightweight. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, granted, a lot of it has to do with the deck, but I'm putting very little force down, so it's nice and lightweight. Plastic top, plastic, a lot of plastic to be honest. Air filter is easy to get to, so it's a okay designed motor. And yeah, it's not bad. I mean, on paper it's great. Recoil is a little flimsy, and the cup that goes on is made of plastic. I've had to replace 1 or 2 of those, so they appear to be okay. This version's a 140cc. I think it makes like 4.5 horsepower, maybe 4, maybe 5, not 100% sure. Maybe even says on it 5.5 gross foot-pound torque, so that's like 4.5 horsepower or so. And yeah, so on paper this is a great motor. So what we're going to discuss next, common problems. These suffer from a few common problems. Most common is the carburetor. These carburetors don't like any amount of time of fuel sitting into them at all. I mean, they practically don't even like it when you stop mowing with a full tank of fuel and you're going to do it again next week. They're a little finicky. So if you're going to be purchasing one of these, I hope you have at least a generic set of sockets, a little bit of mechanical ability, very little, trust me, it's not hard at all, but you're going to need a little bit of mechanical know-how, or at least be willing to do it. It's not hard either, so watch one of my videos on how to clean them, but trust me, I've done it like in 8 minutes. That is a very, very, very common problem. The jets are very small, it's just what happens. Next thing I think that, at least in my opinion, that is common for occurring is the valves do need adjusting a little bit more frequently than you would imagine, but that's really not all that hard either. Another common problem, like I said, is the recoil. It is a little flimsy. You might be in the market, if you are an aggressive person to pull on it, you might be ripping it off, so beware. Like I said, the cup, so how the recoil works is when it's at rest, it's just like a little ball, and then when you pull on it, it opens up and it has these little teeth almost, or paws, or dogs, or whatever we want to call them, and they kind of get stuck in between little notches in the rotator. The name's escaping me right now, excuse me, but it basically, it just makes it so you're pulling on the motor and spinning on the motor. Well, that part, the rotator cup, is, like I said, plastic. And while in theory the recoil is plastic, so why couldn't everything else be in plastic? It should be fine. If one's going to break, you know, that's fine. Problem with that is, for whatever reason, when one breaks, it sometimes takes out the other one. So that's kind of a worrisome part. So you might be in the market for two. And other than that, I don't know why, but this shield on the mufflers just disintegrates. But as long as you don't touch it, I mean, it's just a heat shield, so try not to burn yourself. It's really not that big of a problem unless you're getting like brush or something touching it routinely, then you might cause a fire, so be warned. But other than that, the only other thing that I've noticed, and this is kind of a killer for these motors, is, actually there's two killers. I'm going to go over the last one. The casting on the bottom where the bolts mount to the deck is kind of flimsy. I have probably ran across a good dozen or two of motors where the casting just cracks, and you're either going to be using only two bolts, which isn't generally a good idea, or it's going to crack in a way where it's going to dump the oil out, which is going to kill the motor. And at that point in time, the parts are so expensive, there's really no logical reason of repair, so you just have to buy a new motor. It kind of sucks. And then by that point in time, you might as well just buy a new mower. I mean, this isn't that expensive to begin with, but the motor is very expensive in comparison. So it's a little shame, but it happens. The other thing that appears to happen quite often, and this isn't necessarily a Briggs thing, or maybe it is, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. Someone, somewhere, somehow thought it was a brilliant idea to put stickers, I believe a lot of them are Husqvarna, or Husqvarna, or whatever, but it says, never change your oil, or it doesn't need oil changes, or something like that. It basically just says you just have to top it off. Maybe they expect you to wear your rings out to the point where you're just consuming so much oil, and every time you mow, you're going to have to fill your tank full of fuel and fill your engine full of oil. That seems kind of stupid, but that surprisingly happens more often than you imagine. Sometimes I get these motors and they are so worn out because no one bothered to check the oil and the rings are gone. And even the rings, while they're not expensive, just the amount of work that you're going to be doing, you're going to be paying for a decent amount of labor. So unless you know how to do it, just repairing the rings is going to drastically kill the value of this, and you're going to just be in the market for a new mower. So that's something that you should never do. Always check your level of your oil, especially with these, and change your oil. Don't just top it off. Change it routinely, just like everything else that you would have to put oil in it. It does get bad, you need to change it. Pretty common, I would hope, or common knowledge, I would hope. So that's that. So besides those common issues and the things that kill it, what are my general thoughts about this motor? It's kind of cheap. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, they're not bad. I just don't really like it. They're not horrible. They're not bad or any way, shape, or form. If I was given this for free, I would still use it. I'm not going to be, a snob about it and be like, they don't like it, so I'm just going to get rid of it. No, it's not horrible. It's just cheap. Quality is a little lower than the old flatheads. And some people say that's because it's made in China now and whatnot, and that is true. But in the other side of the coin, when Briggs makes these or instructs how to make them, they are telling them what to do. So if they told them to make the castings a little thicker, guess what? It would still be thicker and made in China. If the plastics were of a higher quality plastic or thicker, guess what? It would still be a decent part and made in China. So the fact that it's made there isn't necessarily a horrible thing. It's just there's a lot of cost savings that were done, I believe, on this. Some good things happen too, like the filters are very easy to change and they're not horrible. The pleated filters, though, I do see getting plugged up with oil a lot. So there's definitely a little bit more not blow by, but the valves seem to be spitting a lot more often, mainly because, like I said, that they do require more adjustment more frequently. So that is a very common occurrence I've also run across. So it's an overhead valve engine, so it's technically supposed to be better, more fuel efficient for sure, I will give it that. But in general, not super a fan of it, but I also wouldn't say it's a bad motor. It's just going to require a little more TLC, a little more care, a little bit more gentle of an approach, and it should be fine. As long as you change the oil, you don't leave fuel in it, you routinely change service the valves, this motor will last a very long time. So it's hard for me to say that it's a bad one. It just is going to require a little bit more attention than, the old flatheads or GCV 160 or something of the sort. So it's not bad. I see where this belongs in the marketplace. A cheaper motor, it's a little lightweight, but you can't have both. You can't have that and long lasting without maintenance all the time, or at least care. So if you're willing to put that in, this is an okay motor. If you're not, then that's a piece of junk. So keep that in mind. So if you're in the market for a mower and you see this motor, be aware that you are going to have to change the oil no matter what the sticker says. Be aware you're going to want to look at your air filter a little bit more often. Be aware you're probably going to need to buy a feeler gauge set. You're going to need a general socket set if you don't leave the fuel. If you run it dry every year and you don't let it sit for any long periods of time, you'll never have to really deal with that. But if you forget, just understand you are going to have to take it apart. But as long as you just do the simple things of, like I said, the valves and air filters and the oil, this will be just fine. If the cost difference for something else is substantial and the other one is a little bit more robust and is a little bit more foolproof or dummy proof, if you're willing to spend the money, go ahead and do that. But if you can't, just know that, like I said, you're going to be spending a little bit more time, but you're going to be saving money. So I'll let you be the judge on which one is better for you. Having said that, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at there. If you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe. If you have any personal opinion or comment about this motor, definitely bring it up. I'd love to hear it. If you have any horror stories or great stories, put them in the comments below. If you think this is a giant piece of crap or the best thing to come from Briggs since Briggs opened, put your thoughts down there. And if this did help you out, if you're on the market and you kind of were on the fence, put a thumbs up, because a thumbs up helps me. And if I helped you, please help me. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.